Now looking, finds Curry. Curry gets space, finds Iguodala. He'll turn, fire at the horn. Got it! Andre nailed the three at the buzzer. He did it again.
We're going to bring y'all into our huddle.
Today is Tuesday, January 7th, 2014, and you are in the Warriors Huddle with me, Bram. With me, as always, my boy and producer, Scott.
Scott here.
Happy New Year, Scotty.
Happy New Year. Good to be back on the mics. 2014.
Yes. How you feeling, man?
Lots of Warriors basketball to talk. Not feeling the hottest. Came down with one of those winter colds.
Yeah, you got kind of that nasty gravel to your voice. Well, hopefully the Warriors' recent success will knock that right out of you. The Warriors are in the midst of a historic win streak. In fact, having won 9 straight as we record today. Hopefully they'll rip off the 10th win this evening. So you know we got big things to talk about in the Warriors update. We'll go through the Warriors' recent dominance, try to cover as much as we can about the current streak, and then in a brand new, fairly timely, little corny, brand new segment called New Year's Resolutions, we're going to drop New Year's Resolutions first for Warriors or Warriors players, and then for the league at large. But first, man, a little bit of housekeeping. Doesn't matter that we're in a new year. We are still, by some miracle, sponsored by Uber. I love them just as much as I did in 2013. If you need a ride somewhere, don't feel like finding a cab, download the free app, press a button, and they'll come to you. Just a couple of things, even though it's been a couple of weeks since the last podcast from me, man. First one, your grassroots effort when you're telling people to tell their friends and get everybody involved and grow the huddle is definitely working. I don't know, 10 days ago, a week ago, something like that, we got a message on the server saying, quote, error 509, this account's public links are generating too much traffic and have been temporarily disabled. And they even threw an exclamation point on that. So it was a very serious take from them.
Yeah, 4-alarm blaze getting that email from the people there, and had to really rush to solve that problem. But we definitely appreciate people spreading the word, and I hope that doesn't stop.
Keep doing it. It was awesome. This probably is more of a comment on my lack of success in life, but reading this might have been the greatest thing I've ever done. You know, maybe it just means there was 8 people on it in the same time and they had to kick us off, but it made us seem pretty popular, man. So props to you for starting it up, and even bigger props to the Huddle member. Let's keep growing this thing, man. Please tell anybody you know. They don't even have to listen. They just have to download, and it helps us out. The second one, a weird thing, I need your opinion on it. We're coming off this break, all right? Went on a vacation with my family, a little bit of background. I got a 16-year-old sister. My 16-year-old sister has been playing tennis for years. She plays for her high school team. She is fairly good. She and I have never played. We talked about it, never had the opportunity on this last vacation.
How about your tennis background?
Okay, great question. Never played for a team or had any lessons, but I do play occasionally. You know, I'll go out there, borrow somebody's racket, either get my ass kicked or stay in it. I'm the type of player who can rally, but if you ask me to serve, I fire the first one into the net and then kind of lightly, hit the next one over to play. All right? There's your backdrop. We finally have an opportunity to play. 16-year-old and me, we start up, and she talks a little bit of shit before we start. Now, Scott, that's you. How do you do it? Do you give full effort, man? Do you play as hard as you can? Do you let her win for your confidence? I mean, what was I supposed to do there?
Tennis is a tough game because so much of it is really mental. So I think I've been in similar situations where I wanted to keep things somewhat equal between me and my opponent. Yeah. So I started to play crappy. Yeah. And then I start losing, and I'm like, okay, now I've given them enough. They've won enough games here. I can start to come back.
But sister wouldn't matter. I mean, family member. I don't owe her.
Not
something.
At all. At 16, she's on her high school team, and tennis is one of those games where if you have the fundamentals down, and you know the game, where to put the ball, you could actually be way better than somebody who has a lot more speed and agility than you. So you got to watch out for kind of slacking off in your tennis game, because then when you try to turn it on, you just can't do it. And so I've been in those situations, tried to turn it on, and I continue to suck and end up losing the whole thing. And that's even more frustrating.
So you would have gave full effort. You would have brought it.
No, I would have slacked off and then tried to turn it on.
All right. Well, you know what? I'll take that. Everyone else I've talked to said, look, at 16, you got to build your confidence. You should have taken an L. Not so surprisingly, I handled it poorly. I went in there thinking I'm going to let her win. She talked a little bit of shit, and I gave full effort and actually won by a pretty big margin and feel just terrible about it. I'm kind of the bad guy. My wife hates me. My family is kind of questioning what kind of an asshole would steal the confidence of a 16-year-old. So it turns out at least you kind of supported me. I'm not really sure where he landed on it, but nonetheless, it feels good to share it with you. Last thing for me, housekeeping, just another plea. We need an intern. With his numbers going up, we need a little bit of help, not only here in the studio, but actually help with the editing process. If you got any interest, hit us up, please. You can drop us a line at Twitter or at our Gmail account, which continues to be warriorshuddle@gmail.com. Any housekeeping from you, big man?
Just one. In the past, I think last episode, you said Steph Curry got his first tattoo.
I hear another correction coming here.
It was actually his second tattoo. So the second one, the first one was on his wrist.
Okay.
But the opposite wrist, the left one, and it says TCC with the number 30, and TCC stands for Trust, Commitment, Care, which was a team motto at Davidson.
Is it in Hebrew or English?
It's in English, so a little bit different than the second one he ultimately got, and I always thought the wrist would be a very open place to get a tattoo. It turns out very sneaky spot to get a tattoo. I never saw either of these.
Kind of a weird thing to do for a shooter as well. Let's see, as a Jew, the fact that it's in English as opposed to Hebrew bothers me a little bit. As a Warrior fan, the fact that he went with a Davidson motto, which is what I understand that to be, also pisses me off a little bit. And just as a Huddle member, the fact that you were able to prove me wrong yet again makes me upset. So nicely done, man. Kind of didn't quite hit for the cycle, but at least 3.
Yeah, I know. Definitely, next one's definitely going to be a homer.
Well, enough of my random family problems, our need for an intern, or wrist tattoos from star players. The Warriors have been hot as hell. Let's jump into the Warriors update. Past scores, current standings, 10 games since the last podcast. December 19th, 102-104 loss to a ridiculously short-handed San Antonio squad led by Marco Belinelli. I don't even want to talk about that. But after that loss, the Warriors reeled off 9 straight wins. December 21st, 102-83. That one was at home versus the Lakers. December 23rd, 89-81. Win at Denver. A Christmas night. Satisfying win over the Clippers at home, 105-103. A December 27th, win at Phoenix, 115-86. A December 29th, 108-104 win at Cleveland. A December 31st, 94-81 win at Orlando. The fact that there are so many wins and I'm running out of breath while reading this is so awesome, Scott. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, God, this is a long list.
This team is destroying it, and we're just getting to the impressive one. January 2nd, 123-114 win at the two-time champion Miami Heat. January 3rd, 101-100 win at Atlanta. And most recently, and perhaps most pertinently to us, a January 5th, 112-96 ass-smashing win at your favorite team for God knows what reason, the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, revenge is coming January 28th on that one.
Count on that.
Well, unbelievable streak here. Unbelievable.
It's so fantastic. The Warriors now.
I was going to say, where does it put them in the standings here?
Great question. You know I'm ready for it. Warriors are now 23-13, a good 18-3 with their projected starters. A little bonus stat for you there. So when Iguodala was healthy and they put the team they envisioned during the offseason on the floor, they've gone 18-3, which is savage. That makes us, and let me make sure I get this right, I'm looking at it here, we are half a game behind the Clippers for 4th place in the West and 1st in the Pacific Division. We are only 4 games behind Portland, who is in 3rd, and we are a good 5 games ahead of Minnesota, who's in 9th. So we're kind of cementing our place in the playoffs. Not too long ago, we were kind of worried about whether or not they'd even get into that 8th slot, so things are kind of shaping up.
Yeah, although it also shows just how deadly the Western Conference is, because you win 9 games in a row, and still the team that's 9th in the playoffs is only 5 games out. I mean,
right.
We could easily lose 5 games and they could win 5 games. I mean, there's so much left to play. It's kind of amazing you could win 9 games and still be in this position.
You're absolutely right. We got so much Warrior stuff to talk about tonight. We're not going to cover this, but the other big news, at least as far as standings is concerned, is Chris Paul separated his shoulder, now out 6 weeks. So even though we are a half game behind him, I think our chances of passing those guys and getting even higher up this convoluted West is phenomenal. Lastly, but certainly not least, Mark with a C, Stein, has
I actually saw
certainly
these.
been watching, baby. He's pumped us up to number 3, Scott. Number 3 in the league, behind only Indiana at 1 and Miami at 2. So we're being recognized the world over.
The fact that his top 2 are Eastern Conference teams shows you this guy knows absolutely nothing about what he's talking
Gotta
about.
disagree with you there, buddy. Number 3 in the league. That's all I can tell you. I didn't scroll down far enough to see Washington, so I have no idea where the hell they are, but they are not top 3. I can certainly let you know that.
I don't want them to be top 3 in this list. It means nothing.
You're just bitter. You don't understand the genius that's behind Mark C's power rankings. Nonetheless, enough about him. Let's jump in these now. 10 games. Way too much to cover. In fact, I'm sure if I tried to cover 10 games in this, you'd be strangling me within 3 games in. So instead, Scott and I got together before. We drafted the games that were most important to us. We're going to cover 4 of the 10 and then drop some random takes afterwards for the remaining games. The 4 we've decided on are the Miami win, the Clipper win, the Denver win, and the Atlanta win. Picking the 4 I wanted to talk about were kind of hard, though, huh? There was a lot of shit going on.
A lot of good games in there. I mean, we're passing up an overtime victory. Always exciting games.
Exactly right. And a win over Orlando, who has just owned us. So it was good to see Big Baby and his stupid, fat, pouty face have to finally suck on a loss from the Golden State. But let's focus on the ones we did pick, man. And let's start with the Miami win. This is the January 2nd, 123-114 win at Miami. This one was huge. Going in, Miami was 14-2 at home, hadn't lost to a Western Conference team since the Warriors beat them there last year. So you got to figure that they were feeling pretty goddamn confident. Just as a random aside, as a Warrior fan who's watched these guys forever, it's so awesome to tune into a game where they're playing the back-to-back world champions at home, sit down and think to yourself, you know what? These guys have a chance. You know, not a puncher's chance, not some bullshit. A team who actually has the skill, actually has the players to give these guys a run for their money.
You thought it could be just a blowout like it was?
No. That's fair to say. Absolutely not. That part surprised me. But generally speaking, when we were going to these games, like last year, when they went in there, even though I believed in the team, I was hoping for magic. You know, like something random would happen. We'd go in and sneak one out. Whereas this one, I believed that we had a shot, especially since we were coming in hot. So it was just a different mentality, something that's kind of foreign to me and something I'm getting used to quickly, and I goddamn love it. This had so many highlights. We're going to have to kind of focus our thoughts, really. The Warriors, to me, were led by 2 players, man. Steph Curry and David Lee.
Absolutely. Definitely the 2 that carried them in this game.
And before we focus on them, let me just add, it wasn't just me who believed in them. The Warriors didn't look intimidated at all. They looked like they believed in their chance. They looked like they actually had the horses to run with these guys, and they played accordingly. Steph led the fucking show. Guy had 36 points with 8 3-pointers, 12 assists, 4 steals, and 2 rebounds. Instead of talking about all his impossible shots, let me put it this way. LeBron James is the most talented basketball player on earth. Fact. He is also probably one of the best defenders in the galaxy. Fact. Despite those 2 facts, Steph dominated his ass. Whenever he was matched up, he started doing all those impossible angle jump shots. It even got to the point where the Miami arena started making that noise that opposing arenas make when Steph starts getting hot. I love watching him get hot anyways, but watching him do it against LeBron in the Heat, boy, that was some good times.
Oh, yeah. He shows up on the big stage, kind of like that Madison Square Garden game last year. I had that same feeling where he knew this was a special night. He knew people were going to be watching, and he really came out with a sense of urgency that I haven't seen from him a lot.
He's starting to become a killer.
Hitting the first 3 threes, that was just huge.
Do you think that's a mentality? I mean, the idea of going on a big stage and suddenly playing better. You know, I mean, is that just a personality trait? What is it that makes players do that?
I don't know, because I wish that he would do it more often.
All the time, right.
Yeah, because, and the whole team, too. Like, they had a focus in this game that you don't get to see from them night in and night out. And obviously it's got to be hard. You're traveling on the road on the East Coast away from your family over the holidays. You're tired. Do you really want to get up at a game against Atlanta or Orlando? No one's in the arena. But a game like Miami, we've all felt that special energy that's in the arena when a big game like this happens. And it affects players.
There are a bunch of celebrities courtside and stuff. I think I saw Johnny Manziel and a bunch of other guys of higher quality. Nonetheless, we aren't the only people who were really impressed with Steph. In fact, here's a quote from LeBron James talking about just how dominant Steph was.
He's one of the best shooters that this NBA will see. And to be in the building with two of the greatest, Ray and Steph, not bad. I mean, if you can find a better shooter than him right now, especially with the way he handles the ball, and the light that he has, it's more than green, it's like fluorescent. You just hope that he misses.
I mean, how do you guard Steph Curry?
Just put some pressure on him and hope that he misses. He's going to get looks and he's going to take them. He takes 7 to 8 threes a game. Tonight was, 13 of them? So, I looked at the stat sheet at one point. He was 7 for 13 from the three-point line, and I was 7 for 12 from the field. I was like, oh, shit. Oh, he got more threes attempts than I got field goal attempts. So, guy that can shoot the ball like that, you really just hope that he misses.
Got the best player on earth first to stutter. How do you guard Steph? But not even my favorite part about the quote. I have heard a lot of things from LeBron, and I've never heard the word shit. And as a person who swears far too often, I loved hearing it here.
Yeah, this is a lot of credit for LeBron to give to Curry.
Yeah.
And you really appreciate that. LeBron really seems like I should like him.
Do you not?
I don't, but he seems like I don't really have any argument as to why I don't like him.
Yeah.
Just a kind of a reaction, but he's a beast. He's fun to watch. And a nice guy who's willing to give accolades.
I disliked him right after the decision stuff. I kind of joined the bandwagon, didn't like the way he handled it. Now it doesn't seem quite as justified. I understand why he made the decision. He's become a little bit humble, and here it seems like he might be boys with Steph. I don't know if it was the Olympic experience or whatever the hell it was, but he does seem pretty ready to praise my favorite player. So it made me like him a little bit more. I'm not willing to jump on the LeBron James bandwagon. While we're talking about him, LeBron was a lot of control in his game.
He was totally out of control.
He got his shit together by the end. I think he had 26 points, something like that. But he also had 8 turnovers, and he had something I had never seen. He was going down the court, falls down, loses the ball, and then left 2 huge skid marks on the court.
Never seen that.
What the hell was that? I mean, how could that have possibly happened?
How much basketball do you think we've watched over the years, and considering the shoe technology that has evolved over the years, and not until 2014 do we see skid marks.
Fuck. Well, I was getting ready to say I finally get to correct you. I'm not sure if it was in 2014 or 2013, but I'm so gun shy on being right on this. I'm not even going to say it. I'll just let it go. I also like that you pointed out the slow evolution of shoe technology. You're absolutely right.
The only time I've seen this is on that cartoon. No, it wasn't a cartoon, but it was a Saturday morning show, Hang Time, with Reggie Lewis.
Yeah.
And he'd always complain that people were wearing dress shoes.
That's what I was going to say. That's the only time I've seen it. You've got black sole shoes that aren't supposed to be on a court. You'll leave those little things and you can mark them off, but not with actual tennis shoes, man.
Well,
that was
LeBron
no joke.
switched his shoes in the middle of the game. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see that. Okay.
And I can't remember which shoe this happened with, but I don't think he's been too pleased with the new LeBron shoes that Nike's produced for him.
Well, they're falling out from under him and leaving huge skid marks. I can see why. Some of the credit goes to Iguodala. He did a little bit of everything. They showed how the Warriors have, in fact, evolved from last year. I mean, he was slowing them down. He was dropping dimes. He was getting points for us when we needed it. So he absolutely helped. But the other person we've already mentioned, David Lee. The guy looks like David Lee again. It looks like the all-star that he was last year in this game. I think he had, in fact, let me make sure before I give you something that's wrong. Yeah, 32 on 13 of 17 shooting. Also had 14 rebounds on a series of those very Lee shots, those kind of little one-handed flip shots on turnarounds or hook situations. I don't know what it was that's motivated him, but I feel like he's back, and he's a huge portion of what the hell we're trying to do.
And he's played great in other games besides this, but I think what helped him out so much in this game was, number one, Curry came out on fire, so Miami really had to key off on Curry, and so they were running these pick and rolls where both guys would just go after Curry and leave Lee totally open. Curry would dump him the ball, and then Miami has no bigs. So he was going up against like Shane Battier and Beasley.
Right.
I mean, David Lee's going to own those guys.
And it was definitely a pick your poison kind of thing. They had to double down, and Lee's going to hit that 14-foot pump shot all day. Here's a random question about Lee. Is it possible to be overpaid but still underrated?
Overpaid but still underrated.
I mean, like I feel like this year, his contract's awful. They can't get rid of it. Supposedly they tried to trade him to Toronto for Andrea Bargnani, and Toronto said no, probably because of the money. But we all kind of turn our backs on him this year. He's been fairly crappy. I think he's actually underrated now, despite the fact that he's overpaid.
Yeah, he has gone back to underrated status for sure. And he's still the double-double machine that he was last year. And I don't know. I mean, should he be an all-star again?
I want to say yes, but I also, more important to me is that Steph finally gets recognized. That seems like it's cemented in stone. He'll probably be a starter now that Chris Paul's gotten hurt. But if I had to pick one of the two, I want it to be Steph. We need to really get him established as a perennial all-star. If we're allowed to have a second all-star, it deserves to be Lee. But really, my focus on Steph still,
Yeah, and I'd be curious to compare Lee's numbers right now to where they were last year.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting.
Well, we got a lot of other games to move on to. Let me just give you this last final thought. I felt like last year when we beat Miami, we kind of tiptoed into the Lion's den and stole something while the Lion was sleeping. This year, I felt like we kicked the goddamn door in and punched the Lion in the mouth. It's a different feeling, and it is awesome. Not saying we're winning a championship, not saying we're better than the Heat, but we sure as hell were that night, and we gave them everything more than they could handle. Let's talk about my next favorite game, the Clippers, baby. This is the 105-103 win over the Clip. Another huge game. This was on national TV, Christmas Day, and something that I enjoy maybe more than any other portion of sports when you have two teams who are not only rivalry, we've got D. Lee and Griffin, we've got Chris Paul and Steph Curry, but also two teams who hate each other. And you can just feel
This one was definitely as advertised.
Yeah, that's exactly
it
right.
It lived up to the hype, which you rarely see you didn't see it on any of the Christmas games.
No.
Thank God there was this one because all the other games just flopped.
And kind of the bonus that the NBA brings. Teams hate each other, I would imagine, in the NFL, but it's such a violent game, you don't really see it anyways. Teams in Major League Baseball probably hate each other at the end of a long series, and they'll maybe have a supposed bench-clearing brawl where they run at each other and don't throw any fucking punches. But here, you can tell they're not allowed to be overly physical, so they end up being dirty in different ways, which I really enjoy. In fact, that was kind of the theme of this game. Nobody played in particularly well. D. Lee had 23 and 10. Bogut had 10 and 14. So the big men played fairly well. In fact, I read somewhere they were the first two teammates to have double-doubles for 10 consecutive games since Rich Kelly and Truck Robinson. Incidentally, as awesome of a name as Truck Robinson is, I have never heard of either of those two dudes in my life.
Don't know them. Don't know when they played, who they played for.
Even if it's real, I may have made that shit up. Who knows? You'll have to look up it on your own. But beyond them, no one was playing that well. Steph didn't get his shot going until the fourth. Clay wasn't really doing anything. We were down like 13 at one point, and then in the second half, Warriors started getting dirty and chippy, and that's how we beat them, which I love.
Yeah, had to watch this one on tape delay
because
I was involved in some Christmas karaoke with the family, which is actually quite fun. But
I don't know what's more embarrassing, that you were singing or that you loved it.
It's but my sister's boyfriend was there, and he wanted no part of the Christmas karaoke. Absolutely no part.
I respect the hell out of that. What a nightmare for him.
It turned out, I guess he was checking Twitter as the game was going live. And then we sit down to start watching the game after karaoke's done, and he's like, he says, "Oh, some crazy stuff happened in this game."
Oh, come on!
And I was like, really?
First time you've watched a game, buddy? Keep those thoughts to yourself. You should have made him sing a song right then.
Yeah.
Random thought. I watched this with my family. I watched it with my mom, dad, my wife, a whole bunch of people. It's in the same trip where I was inappropriately competitive with my little sister. And the thing that I remember from it is at halftime, they showed a commercial with Blake Griffin. And my mom goes, "They let that ugly dude do commercials too," which I thought was really a surprisingly frank statement. I absolutely loved it.
Must be a Warriors fan.
But no question. Let's get to the two dirty plays. First, both involved the ugly guy, Blake Griffin. First one was Draymond Green. I think it was in the third. Yeah, it looked like it was about in the third quarter. Blake and Draymond get into a little scuffle. In fact, I think Draymond elbows him in the face. Draymond gets thrown out of the game justifiably, and then Blake gets assigned a technical for for using his face to attack Draymond's elbow, which I thought was totally justified, and I love to see.
I mean, maybe he said a couple curse words to Draymond, but I think that's very justified after somebody throws an elbow in your face. I don't know. I thought Griffin handled it pretty well.
I watched the replay, slowed it down, and watched the ref say technical for being ugly. So honestly, completely justified. That wasn't the end of the dirtiness. And in fact, got much better from there. We now fast forward to the fourth quarter. Bogut starts pushing Griffin, then starts holding his jersey in the super random way. And after they're able to separate him out, the refs then give a technical to both of them again. And because it was Griffin's second, he gets kicked the hell out of the game for being elbowed in the face and having his jersey almost ripped off by an angry Australian. After watching this team get pushed around for years and years and years and years and years, I loved that we were the aggressors and that we finally have somebody dirty on our team who can turn the tables.
Bogut is so good at the sly nastiness.
Yes.
He's just really subtle with his cheap shots, and Draymond needs to start learning from Bogut.
Yeah, he will.
Because Draymond, the complete opposite, he's always over the top. You know, he'll do it right in front of the ref. Like
he elbowed that dude in his face at half court. I mean, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
It was the most obvious, unnecessary play ever.
Yeah, just learn how to be subtle and get it done and get in people's heads in a different way.
He will, right? I mean, just like any other skill in the NBA, that's something that you subtly learn, you know? And he's got the perfect mentor. Bogut will take him to the side and will let him know exactly how to do that. Before we get too far away from it, here is Bogut on his interaction with Blake Griffin.
The chippiness growing as the game went on. I mean, didn't seem much, and all of a sudden, guys are banging. Or just
Yeah, no, look, we're both, I think, physical teams in the middle. We both aren't afraid to get after it, and I think that's what you saw tonight. I don't think it's a goal of mine or theirs to go in and try to do anything and wrestle and do all that. It's just the way it gets. Guys get frustrated from both sides, and those things happen. You know, you're still trying to win a basketball game, and at the end of the day, that was my goal.
What happened at the end of the game here?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'll have to watch the tape, but you know, I think I'd warm my.
You saw Steven Jackson in there. He didn't even play in the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Guys have to have a look at the tape, but there's, I had the ball in my hands and Chris tried to get it from me. I didn't let him get it, and then all of a sudden there was a stampede. So I didn't really see what happened much after that. Our security ran in and ushered us out, but I'm sure the league will be looking at that tape.
What happened when you got tangled with Blake?
I was just trying to box him out, and he's a tough offensive rebounder, and just a little physicality. We're both grabbing each other, and we both went down to the floor, and that's about it. I think it just should have been a foul for each of us and move on.
Looseness is 2 games now, or you've been in the middle of things?
No, like I said, I'm not. It's not like I can go home and pencil the Clippers in and say I'm going to be physical and try to get a technical foul and try to give the league money. I mean, it's just the way the game went, and he was being physical, I was being physical, and we both didn't take a step back, and that's how it should be. And I think it's a good spectacle for you guys and the fans.
Strangely, Blake Griffin saw it a little bit differently. Here's Blake after the game.
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like tonight I got 2 technicals for nothing. So I don't know. We'll see what they say.
As a guy, I mean, it must be frustrating for you. I'm guessing it has to be because you can't help your team out being in here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm back here, and I mean, if you look at it, I didn't do anything, and I got thrown out of the game. So obviously that, like I said, it all boils down to they fell for it. To me, it's cowardly basketball.
Like we talked to Doc, and he said that they were losing, so they felt that they had to retaliate or they had to play some other kind of game. Did you feel that they felt the game was kind of going away from them, so they had to do something else?
Yeah, I think so. Instead of just playing straight up and playing a game, it got into a little something more than that, and it's unfortunate because you want to play a team head to head. You don't want to start playing other games and playing cowardly basketball.
Wah! I mean, that's all I heard that entire time. What a whitey bitch. Suck it up and get over it.
I don't understand cowardly basketball. To me, that's not cowardly basketball. It's smart basketball.
That's exactly right. Maybe if we rearrange the letters in cowardly, it's awesome. And that's what he's actually trying to convey.
And I loved how many of the Clippers were complaining afterwards. And I thought the Warriors afterwards did a great job of just praising the Clippers as a great team, you know, we got a victory today, but these guys are still leading in the Western Conference stuff. So they didn't fuel the fire, which was a really smart way to handle it.
Page out of your other team, the bad boys from Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
That, like, play crazy dirty in between the lines, and then afterwards you're nothing but professionalism. You know, you're not taking any shots because you've already dropped all of them, just in case it wasn't enough. Bogut was even fucking dirty after the game. He gets the final rebound. Chris Paul tries to take it from him for God knows what reason, and because he's Bogut, he absolutely refuses. He just won't let it, and it causes a whole new tussle.
Well, that's when things really got exciting, actually, because none other than Steven Jackson came in.
Oh, I didn't see that. Was Stack Jack involved?
Oh, Stack Jack was involved, and things got real interesting at that
Weird.
point. Because you were with, it was kind of right on the sideline again. You just didn't know what could happen. Lindsey Hunter, assistant coach for the Warriors, got involved. So that was kind of an interesting moment.
I tell you, Matt Barnes sizes up. I'm afraid, but not really. Griffin talks shit. I don't care. Chris Paul says something. I can completely tune it out. Steven Jackson stands up, and I'm stopping whatever the hell I'm doing. I'm done. I'm not dealing with him at all. My final take on this game, we rewind the clock, 4 years ago, the Warriors made this huge offer towards DeAndre Jordan, and at the last minute, the Clippers ended up matching and keeping him. Thank God that happened. If we somehow get Jordan, there's no way we trade Monte, there's no way we get Bogut, and there's no way that we're on a 9-game winning streak looking for our 10th. It's weird how things work out in the NBA, but I'm pretty happy about this one.
Why is there no way they trade Monte?
Because they traded Monte for Bogut. If they get DeAndre, they filled that center hole. You know, they don't need the rim protector that they were desperate to get. And the reason they were looking for a rim protector, because at this stage, they had 2 small guards who they were terrified couldn't defend anybody.
Yeah, so maybe they trade Monte for somebody else, but I think, I don't know, DeAndre is not a bad player to have.
I stick with it. I don't think they will. I'll put it a different way. There's no way they would have traded to acquire Andrew Bogut if they already had DeAndre Jordan. I mean, they would have already had that in particular position filled. We wouldn't have any of the toughness, any of the attitude we just talked about. I think it'd be an entirely different team. So it's not that DeAndre Jordan's a bad player. I agree with you. That guy's an athletic beast, hell of a rebounder, good defender. But if he's on this team, our heart and soul, at least defensively, is not. And I'd much prefer Bogut.
Yeah, well, that's where we differ.
Really? Do you prefer Jordan to Bogut? Would you, if they offered Jordan right now for Bogut, you'd make that trade?
Yeah, definitely.
Really? Why?
Because I think he's got so much more upside. He's way more athletic. He's, I think, a better defender.
I think he's a better defender.
Yeah.
Huh?
Have you seen what he's been doing? He's been killing on the blocks.
Yeah, what he's doing is blocking shots.
What's Bogut doing?
He's completely changing shots all over the fucking court. He is our quarterback on defense. DeAndre Jordan is, and that's Chris Paul. I mean, Bogut controls the floor for the Warriors on the defensive end. DeAndre Jordan does what the hell Chris Paul tells him and uses his athleticism to change shots. I'm not saying you're wrong on his defensive presence, but what he means to the Clippers is half of what Bogut means here. This sounds like a segment to me. We'll devote an entire segment on it, but I will agree to disagree for right now. Let's move on, baby. Let's go to that Denver game. Another huge win. They went into it a half game behind Denver for 8th when we played it, so it actually meant a lot then. And even more, it was Iguodala's homecoming. Since he left, there's been all this weirdness. George Karl basically accused Andre Iguodala of being the mole during the playoff series. That apparently while Iguodala was still playing for Denver, he was telling Warrior players, watch out, Karl wants us to hurt Steph and all these other things. So it was interesting seeing him going back. It wasn't just playing an old team. It was him playing an old team who he's now been accused of spilling trade secrets over. So I was kind of fired up for this one.
Yeah, it was a good game, and I think it shows that the Warriors got it done on defense. They held them without a field goal in the final 2 minutes and 23 seconds, and that is, I think, what has proved to be the way that they've been winning basketball games since then.
Yeah. I am so distracted that you thought Jordan was better. I mean, it's so hard for me to move on. You are absolutely right, man. Iguodala also got booed like a madman, as you'd expect. Didn't play in particularly well. 12, 6, and 2. Still made a big difference. His little things just cement the team. In fact, hit a huge 3 to go up 5 with about 3 minutes left. So he made a difference, even if it wasn't the kind of all-star appearance he made when he went back to Philly at the beginning of the year. Other person who looked good, D. Lee. We've said it 100 times. We won't have to say it again. He appears to be D. Lee again. The why I'm bringing him up now is that this was his first game in Denver since getting injured out there during the playoffs. And it seemed like that meant something to him. He came out really aggressive and kind of changed around the way he'd been approaching games. Here's D. Lee talking about his early game aggression.
Tonight, were you looking for offense early?
No, I think the last 10 games or so, I've tried to be real aggressive, especially start games and attack the rim. And tonight was no exception. As you know, last time I played in this building wasn't the greatest result. Got injured, so I want to come out tonight and put that behind me and attack the basket early and get any thoughts of that kind of stuff out of the way. And had some success early and just tried to be consistent throughout the game. And they got some open shots tonight, and for one, last time I can remember they didn't fall, but we were still able to get a road win, and that's what's important. And just happy that I could provide some offense.
Say something about you guys that on a night where they don't shoot it particularly well, you still find a way to get one on the road.
Yeah, especially on the road. I mean, we can survive that at home, but a lot of times, in a tough environment like this, you need every bit of offense you can get because Denver's such a talented scoring team. But we got some stops down the stretch, and that was the reason we won the game.
Couple last takes on this Denver win. One, Andre Miller still looks a lot like Richard Pryor. I was going to pull the whole move or replay a Richard Pryor take again. We may have beaten that joke into the ground last year. Do you want him? You've been hearing these rumors that the Warriors.
Yeah, I've been hearing them. No, I don't want him.
Too old, or you prefer DeAndre Jordan?
Yeah, exactly. I want DeAndre Jordan to be our backup point guard. He's that good.
I wouldn't mind Miller. I'd prefer Kyle Lowry. Let's save this for next week because we still have a lot, but I think I'm with you there. Last thing. I don't know if it was you who put this in my head. I'm not sure if we've already talked about this. I hate Nate Robinson. And he seems
that wasn't me.
All right, well, he seems like the type of dude I should like. Undercover guy, never really got the credit he's due. He's a hard worker, the whole nine
beating
yards.
odds. I mean, the guy's
he's a feel-good story, and regardless, there's something about him that really bothers me. Maybe it's that he shoots constantly, but I hate his face, man. I'm not a big fan of Nate Rob.
It might be because he doesn't understand that he's an underachiever, an overachiever.
It's a good call. That's a good call, that he thinks he's a lot better perhaps than he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's achieved great success, which he can be proud of, but he acts like anyone with his metrics should be achieving that type of success.
Congratulations on finishing that sentence, man. I was a little worried about you.
But yeah, I mean, he does just crazy stuff. Like he had that heat check towards the beginning of the fourth quarter, the three-pointer,
exactly right.
Just launched it when the Denver was up 5. Totally unnecessary.
And that actually leads me to, and I never like to quote Fat Bob, which is what I call Bob Fitzgerald, incidentally, but Fat Bob had this to say about Nate Robb. He makes both coaches nervous, which I thought was a really good way to put it. All right, last game I want to focus on before we drop some miscellaneous takes on the remaining one is the Atlanta game. Very definition of a trap game. This is right after they beat Miami, and it was a scheduled loss. It's back-to-back games on the road. They had nothing but all the momentum and all the fire from a nationally televised game going into kind of a shit-burgery who really cares about game, and instead of allowing that lack of momentum to affect them, they actually got better as at least as the fourth quarter wore on, if not the entire game.
They started out like you would expect them to.
Yeah.
Just horrible.
Yeah.
They missed so many easy shots, and that's what gave me hope, though, actually, that they might actually pull this out because they were getting wide open looks. They were just missing them.
No way they keep missing them.
Yeah, no way. And eventually they stopped. And these are the type of games where you need a leader on your team who just wants to win above anything else and is like, the rest of you guys are going to support me in my cause to satisfy my own insatiable desire to win.
Who do you think that was there?
I think it was Curry, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he's really starting to become that leader.
Yeah,
because you saw it in the fourth quarter. He put them on his back, went 5 of 9, scored 14 points.
I heard Steve Kerr, and I'm sure I've told you this before, but I heard Steve Kerr talk about the 72-win Bull team, and they asked him, what's the difference? And he said Jordan, but not his talent. He said it was his mentality. You're playing 7 games in 10 days. You're on the road in Toronto. You're down 15 in the fourth quarter. It's easy to just quit. It's done. Whatever. You don't need this win. And he said Jordan would get in there, look in everybody's eyes, and go, look, you are not going to fuck this up for me. You get on my back. We are going to win this game. And this Atlanta game had feel like this. Steph wasn't playing well and then decided, nope, We are too good. We're not going to lose to this team, and we have too much heart, and that's exactly what played out. The Warriors were down 15 in the fourth. They never quit, kept coming after it. Iguodala was huge, had all 7 of his points in the fourth quarter, and was ultimately the champion of this game. In fact, as opposed to breaking it down, why don't we just play the play-by-play? Here's Tim Roy breaking down the game winner from Iguodala in Atlanta.
Now looking, finds Curry. Curry gets space, finds Iguodala. He'll turn, fire at the horn. Got it! Andre nailed the 3 at the buzzer. He did it again.
One take on that final play. Did you get a chance to watch this one?
Yeah.
Okay. That Iguodala missed a streak in Harrison Barnes. I mean, he had Barnes go to the basket, would have been a dunk to send it into overtime, and instead of getting disappointed by missing that, he finds Curry and then still gets the courage and capability of hitting a three-pointer to win it. I loved seeing that. I mean, if that was me and I missed Harrison Barnes, I'd get all pissy. You know, I wouldn't be ready to shoot a shot. I'd feel like I lost it. I probably wouldn't have been paying attention for the kickback from Curry.
He's now hit more game-winning shots than any other active NBA player.
Isn't he second?
No, he's first.
Oh boy, I'm going to look that up when we're at the break. We have to wait till housekeeping next week to see whether or not you're right on that.
No, I think I can even put numbers to it. I think he has 6.
I love it. Hopefully you are right. Either way, I promise to update us at the beginning of next episode. Last take, Millsap lost a ton of weight, looks really good. The only reason I'm bringing him up is I've watched Paul Millsap push around the Warriors for years, and it was so great watching Bogut toss his shit out of the key and give the kind of physical presence I've wished had been there for years. So good for you, Millsap, but you're not pushing our shit anymore, buddy. We actually have a real enforcer in the middle. 4 great games, man. Just 4 great games. Really gives you a sense of how well they've been playing over this 9-game stretch. Just a few miscellaneous random takes on the other games as opposed to going through them. My first one in the Cleveland win, Draymond helped illustrate my whole take when I was arguing with Taraz, at least on paper. You remember I was saying that you can't just look at the percentages in the fourth quarter to determine whether or not someone's clutch. If you go 0 for 9 and then hit the final game winner, you are still definition clutch. That's exactly what Draymond did in Cleveland. He went 2 for 10. His 2 shots were both huge. One was in the fourth. He makes a 3-pointer with 1:05 left to put the Warriors ahead 99-96. The other was in overtime, put us up 106-104. I think he was clutch, but don't trust me. Let's listen to what Mark Jackson had to say about it.
Draymond was spectacular, mixing up coverages, switching on to Kyrie Irving, rebounding the basketball, battling, made a big-time three-pointer, and then, also dove to the hoop for a big-time, dunk.
Draymond, I think, was 0 for 6 when he hit that 3 at the end of regulation. For a guy like him, a bench guy who is not the green light kind of shooter that Curry is, for him to have the confidence even after having a rough shooting night, how nice is that to see?
Well, believe it or not, he is a green light shooter. I want him to shoot the basketball. He's an absolute winner. He's been that way his whole life. A guy that defends, competes, makes plays, not afraid of the moment. Hit a big-time shot. I said it before, if the guy quits today, he's on my staff tomorrow. He's just that good of a basketball player and, more importantly, of a person. He's an absolute winner.
My miscellaneous take would be the got to go back to the Wiz game, which I don't want to talk too much about, but Curry threw that ball off the backboard,
What?
and Bogut came out of nowhere and crushed it. I mean, it was definitely not planned, but boy, what a heady play by both of them. Curry kind of got caught up in the air, didn't have anything to do, and Bogut saw the opportunity and just crushed it.
Classy move, Scotty. Classy move, bringing that up. You're absolutely right. I'm not sure that he was passing it to him off the backboard. I've watched that play 100 times. I'm not sure exactly what was happening, but if he did plan it, I've never seen a pass like that, and that was badass. My next miscellaneous take, Marco Belinelli. He killed us. Played really well. I think he had 28 points. Let me just say this for the record. That neck beard is the most disgusting thing I have ever seen in my life. It looked like a raccoon crawled onto his neck, had babies, and then the entire family of raccoons died right there and then just festered on the bottom. Your call on facial hair, do whatever the hell you want, but look in the mirror. You're on national television, buddy. You can't have that type of nasty man slime on the bottom of your neck without disgusting viewers worldwide.
If there was a coach who was going to let it happen, it'd be Pop, though. He's grown his own filthy beards in the past. Real straggly looking, just awful.
Maybe he took him under his wing. It's like, here you go, kid. Let's start with the neck beard and your game will grow from there. Last miscellaneous take. You know how great it is that the Warriors beat the hell out of the Lakers. Beat the hell out of the Lakers. And the Lakers are so terrible that it's not even a big enough deal for us to talk about it.
It was kind of amazing as I was going through these games, deciding which ones to draft. And I got to the Lakers win, and I was like, there's better stuff to talk about.
Who cares? They're losers. No, that's absolutely right, man. Hell of a streak. Great time to be a Warrior fan. Quick take to bandwagon fans, because I ran into a bunch of them out there after this streak. Welcome aboard. No problem. We'd love to have you. But don't try to convince me that you've been here forever. Don't bring up some random take about Don Nelson, how you used to like him. Accept your newbie status. That's fine. Don't pretend like you've been here and move on. That's all I can tell you. All right, last segment and a brand new one, New Year's resolutions. The clock has turned. It is January 7th. We have celebrated a New Year since the last one. Instead of giving our own New Year's resolutions, which is generally speaking just a lie about losing weight for me, why don't we fire off a couple for the Warriors and then get the hell out of here? My first is that Steph stops turning the ball over as much as he does. He is an all-star caliber player. He's a franchise caliber player. At this stage, those one-handed passes that go nowhere need to stop. I understand how creative he is. I understand the advantage it gives him, but you can't have 5 or 6 turnovers a game anymore. That's got to be done.
Yeah, he's got to cut that off if he's going to rise to the next level and take this team to the next level.
Yep.
Because come playoff time, you really can't afford those turnovers.
That's exactly right.
And so he needs to start practicing and playing with that in mind.
Yep, you're right.
The one I got is Andre Iguodala. Start making free throws.
Yeah.
What is going on? The guy's shooting 59% from the free throw line. He's a career 72% shooter. He's shooting 59% this year. He shoots 46% from three.
Is that a mentality thing? What the hell is going on with that?
I don't remember any Nick Anderson-esque type
Yeah,
things
me
happening
neither.
to him.
All right, I'm with that. New Year's resolution for sure. My final one, I'll give you 2 fast ones, I promise. One, Bogut finally punches Chandler Parsons in his face. This is really just more satisfying to me. I won't go into how much I hate Chandler Parsons, but I'd like to see it. And 2, a little bit more serious, Mark Jackson develops a reliable half-court offense. This team can win in the regular season. We know it. Now they got to start being able to win in the postseason. That's going to require a half-court offense that delivers reliable shots. I've bitched about it before. I won't do it now, but I'd like to see it.
And reliable half-court offense does not mean some random ISO post-up.
Exactly. That's exactly right. We don't need Harrison Barnes taking a fall-away 15-footer. That's not what's up. We need to have at least 3 people touch the ball and hopefully set up some kind of post shot or something like that. You got another one?
My last one is Harrison Barnes. Keep your head up. Start having fun again, and start really, taking advantage of your role as the 6th man.
Yep.
I understand it probably sucks to come off the bench now, but you got to pick your head up and start playing better.
Couldn't agree more. Here's my league-wide one, that they get D-Rose back. It's weird. It's kind of canned. This league has seen, or this season rather, has seen more injuries to marquee players than I care to admit. This league is much better when we have players like D-Rose. I'm not sure what that means, a shorter season, whatever it is, but we got to make some changes to make sure these stars stay around. Absolutely huge fun. I'm getting the feeling that 2014 just might be the year of the Warriors. We got a lot of stuff ahead of us here. We really appreciate you guys listening. Quick quote before I give you the closing. This one comes from the Huddle in 2014. Happy motherfucking New Year. You guys can find us still on Twitter at Warriors Huddle at Twitter, and our Gmail account remains Warriors Huddle at Gmail. Our website is Let's Go Warriors. We are still on iTunes, where you can rate us and subscribe. And in case you have a Zune, you can find us there too.
Did you see Microsoft put out a new Zune? They just came out with a new one. So people get, hopefully you got one for Christmas or Hanukkah.
Or hopefully you didn't, but maybe you did. Either way, we're available on all of the above. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. We'll see you guys next week.
Good.